The first thing Lily Carter felt was cold. Not the sharp, biting cold of winter, but the kind that seeped slowly into her bones, heavy and suffocating. Voices echoed around her. "Lily, wake up. What are you still sleeping for? The wedding is in a week." Her eyes snapped open. Bright sunlight flooded her vision. For a moment, everything blurred: the ceiling, the pale curtains, the familiar scent of jasmine perfume in the air. Her heart slammed violently against her ribs. This room. Lily shot upright in bed. Her hands trembled as she looked around the space she knew too well: the soft grey walls, the vanity cluttered with unopened wedding gifts, the white dress hanging carefully near the window. Her breath caught. "No," she whispered. This was her old bedroom in the Carter house. The week before the wedding. Before everything fell apart. Before she was humiliated in front of the entire city. Before she died. A sharp memory stabbed through her mind. The Grand Hotel ballroom. Hundreds of guests. Flashing cameras. Ryan Brooks standing coldly at the altar. His voice indifferent, almost bored. "I'm cancelling this wedding." Gasps filled the room. Lily remembered the way her knees had nearly given out, the way she had grabbed his sleeve, desperate and humiliated. "Ryan, please, we can talk about this." But he had looked at her like she was nothing. And standing behind him, Emma. Smiling. Lily sucked in a shaky breath. Her fingers slowly tightened around the bedsheet. She was back. Not a dream. Not a hallucination. She had really returned to 1 week before the wedding. The bedroom door suddenly swung open. "Lily, why are you still sitting there?" Emma Carter's bright, gentle voice floated in as she stepped inside. "Auntie is already worried about you." Lily's gaze lifted slowly. There she was. Emma Carter. Her younger cousin. Her shadow in the past life. Her downfall. Emma stood in the doorway wearing a soft pink dress, her expression full of concern, but Lily now saw the faint calculation hidden deep in her cousin's eyes. In her previous life, Lily had never noticed. She had been too busy being grateful, too busy believing Emma was her only supporter in the Carter family. What a joke. Emma walked closer, tilting her head sweetly. "You look pale. Are you nervous about the wedding?" she asked gently. In the past, Lily would have immediately denied it, flustered and embarrassed. This time, Lily simply watched her. Quiet. Calm. Unreadable. For a brief second, Emma's smile stiffened. "Lily." Lily lowered her gaze and smoothed the bedsheet slowly. "I just didn't sleep well," she said softly. Her voice was the same gentle tone as before, but something about it felt different. Emma studied her carefully. "You shouldn't think too much," Emma said, sitting beside her. "Brother Ryan is very responsible. Since he agreed to marry you, the wedding will definitely go smoothly." Lily's lips curved very slightly. Smoothly? In her last life, the wedding had been anything but smooth. She remembered every second. The whispers. The pitying looks. Her aunt's cold disappointment. Mrs. Brooks' open disdain. And Ryan. Ryan Brooks had never once looked back at her when he walked away. A strange calm spread through Lily's chest. In her previous life, she had been terrified of losing this marriage. Terrified of losing the Brooks family's approval. Terrified of being abandoned again. But now, she slowly lifted her eyes. This time, she wasn't afraid. Emma was still talking softly beside her. "You know Auntie has always cared about your future. Marrying into the Brooks family is such a good opportunity." Lily finally turned her head. Their eyes met. Emma suddenly felt a strange chill run down her spine. Lily was smiling. Gentle. Polite. But for some reason, Emma's fingers curled slightly. Then Lily spoke quietly. "Emma." "Yes." "If the wedding gets cancelled." Emma froze. "What?" Lily's smile deepened just a fraction. "Do you think that would be a bad thing?" The room fell into sudden silence. Emma stared at her, completely caught off guard. For the first time, things were no longer following the script she knew. And somewhere deep inside Lily Carter's calm eyes, the game had already begun. Emma did not answer immediately. For a brief second, The air between the two girls turned strangely heavy. Then Emma forced out a soft laugh. "Lily, why would you even say something like that?" she asked lightly, though her fingers were already curling against her skirt. "The wedding is only a week away." Lily simply watched her. In her past life, she would have panicked at Emma's reaction, quickly apologizing, afraid of sounding ungrateful. Now, she only gave a small, absent-minded hum. "Just a thought," Lily said gently. Too gentle. Emma's smile wavered almost imperceptibly. Before she could probe further, hurried footsteps sounded from the hallway. "Lily. Emma. Are you two still upstairs?" Mrs. Carter's sharp voice cut through the tension. Emma immediately stood. "Auntie is calling us. You should come downstairs." Lily nodded and rose slowly from the bed. Her movements were unhurried, measured, completely different from the anxious bride everyone expected. The Carter family dining room was already lively. Mrs. Carter sat at the head of the table, her expression tight with stress. The moment she saw Lily, her brows knit together. "Finally awake. Do you know how many things still need to be prepared for your wedding?" Her tone carried the familiar edge of dissatisfaction. In the past, Lily would have immediately lowered her head and apologized. This time, she simply took her seat quietly. "I'll cooperate with the arrangements," Lily said calmly. Mrs. Carter paused. Something about Lily's tone felt off. Before she could think too much about it, Emma smoothly sat beside her mother, speaking in her usual soft voice. "Auntie, Lily has been under a lot of pressure lately. Maybe she's just nervous." Mrs. Carter's expression softened instantly. "Of course she's nervous," she said. "Marrying into the Brooks family isn't something everyone can handle." Lily lowered her eyes slightly. There it was. The favoritism hadn't changed at all. Emma always played the understanding peacemaker. And Mrs. Carter always believed her. Across the table, Emma secretly glanced at Lily. Waiting. In the past, Lily would have looked embarrassed by now, maybe even flustered. But today, Lily calmly picked up her tea and took a slow sip. Unbothered. Emma's fingers tightened slightly under the table. Something was definitely wrong. That afternoon, the Brooks family mansion stood quiet and imposing under the pale winter sun. Ryan Brooks sat in his study, flipping through documents with his usual indifferent expression. His assistant stood nearby. "President Brooks, the Carter family has confirmed the final wedding guest list." Ryan gave a short hum. He didn't look particularly interested. Marriage, to him, was nothing more than a strategic arrangement between families. Lily Carter. He paused for half a second. For some reason, her face from their last meeting flashed briefly in his mind. She had seemed different. Before he could dwell on it, the study door opened without warning. Mrs. Brooks walked in gracefully, her posture elegant but her expression cool. "Ryan, we need to talk about your wedding." Ryan didn't look up. "If this is about cancelling it, you've already made your opinion clear, Mother." Mrs. Brooks' lips pressed thinly. "I still don't approve of Lily Carter," she said bluntly. "Her background is too ordinary. She's not suitable for the Brooks family." Ryan finally set down his pen. His tone remained calm. The engagement was decided by grandfather. Mrs. Brooks' eyes flashed with irritation. "And it can still be undone." Silence stretched between them. Ryan leaned back slightly in his chair, expression unreadable. "Do what you want," he said coolly. "Just don't make it messy." Mrs. Brooks studied her son carefully. After a moment, she gave a faint, satisfied smile. "Don't worry," she said softly. "I never do." That evening, Lily stood alone on the Carter family balcony. The winter wind brushed lightly against her hair. Below, the city lights flickered endlessly. In her previous life, this was the time she had been anxiously reviewing wedding details, afraid of making even the smallest mistake. Afraid Ryan would be displeased. Afraid the Brooks family would look down on her. Afraid. She let out a quiet breath. How exhausting she had been. Footsteps approached behind her. Emma's voice followed, soft and probing. "Lily, you've been very quiet today." Lily didn't turn around. "Have I?" Emma stepped closer, her gaze sharp despite her gentle tone. You seem different. Finally, Lily slowly turned. Their eyes met under the soft balcony light. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Lily smiled faintly. Emma, she asked quietly, do you really hope this wedding goes smoothly? Emma's heart skipped. For the first time. A strange sense of unease crept into her chest. Because Lily's eyes were far too calm. And far too knowing. The morning of the wedding arrived with dazzling sunlight and carefully arranged perfection. Inside the Grand Crystal Crown Hotel, staff hurried back and forth, making final adjustments to the luxurious ballroom. White roses lined the aisle. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead. Every detail screamed wealth and prestige. It looked exactly the same as Lily remembered. Down to the last flower. She stood in the bridal suite, staring quietly at her reflection. The white wedding dress fit her perfectly, elegant and soft. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair fell in gentle waves over her shoulders. In her previous life, she had sat in this very chair with trembling hands, her heart pounding with nervous hope. Today, her expression was calm, almost detached. Behind her, Emma's voice floated sweetly through the room. Lily, you look beautiful. Brother Ryan will definitely be surprised when he sees you. Lily met Emma's gaze in the mirror. Emma was smiling warmly, but the excitement in her eyes was poorly hidden. Lily remembered that look. In her last life, she thought Emma was happy for her. Now she knew better. Lily lowered her eyes slightly. Is that so? She said softly. Emma's smile tightened just a fraction. Before she could respond, the door opened and Mrs. Carter rushed in, clearly flustered. Lily, the ceremony will start in 10 minutes. Don't make any mistakes when you walk in, she said sharply. Then her tone softened immediately as she turned to Emma. Emma, stay close to Lily and help her if she gets nervous. Emma nodded obediently. Of course, Auntie. Lily watched the exchange quietly. Nothing had changed. Not their tone. Not their priorities. Not their expectations of her. Good. That made things simpler. The wedding march began. The grand doors slowly opened. Hundreds of guests filled the ballroom, their whispers soft but eager. Cameras were ready. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Lily stepped forward. One step. Then another. Her heels clicked softly against the polished floor. In her previous life, her heart had been racing wildly during this walk. She had been so focused on reaching Ryan, so desperate for everything to go smoothly. Today, she noticed everything. Mrs. Brooks' cold, evaluating gaze. Emma standing off to the side, eyes shining. The subtle tension in the Brooks family's table. And finally, Ryan Brooks. Standing at the altar in a perfectly tailored black suit. Handsome. Cold. Unreadable. Their eyes met across the aisle. For the briefest moment. Ryan's brow almost imperceptibly furrowed. Something about Lily felt wrong. Too calm. Too composed. Not like a nervous bride at all. Lily reached the altar and stopped. Silence fell over the ballroom. The host began the formal speech. Everything proceeded exactly as it had in her past life. Every word. Every pause. Every breath. Until Ryan suddenly spoke. I'm canceling this wedding. Gasps exploded across the ballroom. The words fell like a stone into still water. Mrs. Carter shot to her feet in shock. Guests erupted into whispers. Cameras flashed wildly. In her past life. This was the moment Lily had panicked. The moment she grabbed Ryan's sleeve, voice shaking with desperation. The moment she humiliated herself in front of everyone. But today, Lily did nothing. She simply stood there. Quiet. Composed. Watching. Ryan finally turned his head to look at her directly. For the first time, uncertainty flickered faintly in his cold eyes. Miss Carter, he said slowly. The entire ballroom held its breath. Everyone was waiting. Waiting for Lily to cry. To plead. To collapse. Instead, Lily's lips curved into a faint, polite smile. Her voice was soft but perfectly steady. If Mr. Brooks wishes to cancel, she said calmly, I respect his decision. Silence. Absolute silence. Even the cameras seemed to pause. Mrs. Carter's face went pale. Emma's confident smile froze completely. Mrs. Brooks' eyes narrowed sharply. And Ryan. Ryan Brooks was staring at Lily like he was seeing her for the first time. Because this reaction was not what anyone had expected. Lily gently lifted the hem of her dress and took one graceful step back from the altar. Dignified. Untouched. Unbroken. As for today, she continued softly, I apologize to everyone for the inconvenience. Her calm apology only made the situation more explosive. The Brooks family had just publicly rejected her. Yet somehow, they were the ones losing face. In the crowd, a tall man leaning near the back slowly straightened. Daniel Reed's sharp eyes followed Lily with growing interest. His lips curved slightly. Interesting, he murmured under his breath. Because from the moment Ryan spoke, Lily Carter had not shown a single trace of surprise. As if she had known this would happen all along. And for the first time, the real game quietly began. The Carter family car ride home was suffocatingly silent. Rain had started sometime during the drive, thin streaks sliding down the windows like quiet accusations. Lily sat in the back seat, her wedding dress now covered by a simple coat someone had thrown over her shoulders. Across from her, Emma kept stealing glances. Careful. Uneasy. In the front seat, Mrs. Carter finally snapped. What exactly was that today? She demanded sharply. Her voice cut through the car like a blade. Lily slowly lifted her eyes. What do you mean, Auntie? Mrs. Carter turned halfway around in her seat, clearly furious. Don't play dumb with me. Ryan Brooks cancelled the wedding in front of everyone, and you just stood there smiling? Do you know how embarrassing that was for our family? There it was. Not concern. Not comfort. Only reputation. Just like last time. But in her previous life, Lily had cried under this pressure, apologizing over and over, taking all the blame onto herself. Today, she remained calm. I already apologized to the guests, Lily said gently. Mrs. Carter's expression darkened further. That's not the point. The Brooks family. The Brooks family made their decision, Lily interrupted softly. The car went quiet. Emma's eyes widened slightly. Mrs. Carter stared at Lily as if seeing her clearly for the first time. Because Lily's tone was polite, respectful, but completely unmoved. Mrs. Carter's voice turned colder. So you're just going to accept it like this? Lily met her gaze steadily. What else should I do? The simple question left Mrs. Carter momentarily speechless. In the past, Lily would have begged the Carter family to help her salvage the marriage. But now, she looked like someone who had already let go. That night, Lily quietly packed her suitcase. The Carter house was unusually tense. Whispers had already begun spreading through their social circle. The broken wedding was becoming the talk of the city. Exactly as before. But this time, Lily wasn't at the center of the storm. Because she refused to perform the role everyone expected. A soft knock came at her door. Come in, Lily said. Emma stepped inside. For once, her usual sweet smile looked slightly strained. You're packing? Emma asked carefully. Lily folded another piece of clothing neatly into her suitcase. I'll move out tomorrow. Emma's heart skipped. So suddenly? Lily looked up calmly. There's no reason for me to stay, is there? Emma opened her mouth, then closed it. For the first time, she didn't know what to say. Because Lily was right. Without the Brooks marriage, Lily's position in the Carter family dropped sharply. In the past life, Emma had quietly enjoyed watching Lily cling desperately to the family. But now, Lily was the one walking away first. Emma forced a gentle tone. You don't have to rush. Auntie was just angry today. Lily smiled faintly. I understand. Too understanding. Emma's unease deepened. Something was slipping out of her control. Across the city, in the Brooks family mansion, the atmosphere was equally heavy. Mrs. Brooks stood near the window, her expression tight. You handled today too bluntly, she said coldly. Ryan sat on the sofa, loosening his tie slightly. You said not to make it messy, he replied calmly. Mrs. Brooks turned sharply. And yet somehow, we're the ones being discussed tonight. Ryan didn't respond. Because she wasn't wrong. Public opinion was strangely tilted. Instead of mocking Lily, many guests were quietly criticizing the Brooks family's coldness. Ryan's fingers paused slightly. For some reason, Lily's calm face at the altar surfaced again in his mind. Too composed. Too prepared. Mrs. Brooks suddenly spoke again. Have someone look into Lily Carter. Ryan's eyes lifted slowly. His mother rarely changed her targets once she dismissed someone. Why? He asked. Mrs. Brooks narrowed her eyes. She doesn't behave like someone who was just abandoned. Ryan said nothing. But for the first time, a thin thread of curiosity quietly formed. The next morning, Lily stepped out of the Carter house with a single suitcase. No tears. No hesitation. Just quiet resolve. As she reached the gate, a black car slowed nearby. The window rolled down. Daniel Reed leaned casually against the driver's seat, his sharp gaze landing directly on her. Well, he said with a faint, amused smile, Miss Carter, you surprised quite a few people yesterday. Lily looked at him calmly. Including you. Her lips curved slightly. Did I? Daniel studied her for a long second. Then he opened the passenger door. Need a ride? The morning air was cool and full of possibility. And for the first time in both her lives, Lily Carter stepped forward without looking back. The black car moved smoothly through the morning traffic. Lily sat quietly in the passenger seat, her suitcase resting beside her legs. The city outside the window looked both familiar and strangely new. In her last life, this moment had been filled with shame and uncertainty. Now, it felt like the first breath after being underwater too long. Daniel Reed drove with one hand loosely on the wheel, occasionally glancing sideways at her. You're calmer than I expected, he said casually. Lily turned her head slightly. What were you expecting? Daniel's lips curved. Tears. Panic. Maybe a dramatic phone call to your ex-fiancé. Lily gave a soft, almost amused exhale. That sounds exhausting. Daniel's brows lifted faintly. Interesting. Very interesting. Most people in her position would still be trying to salvage their pride. But Lily Carter sat there like someone who had already turned the page. He tapped the steering wheel lightly. So, he said, where to? Lily didn't hesitate. Riverside Creative Building. Daniel glanced at her again, this time more sharply. That's an office complex. Yes. You have business there. Lily's eyes softened slightly. I'm starting over. The Riverside Creative Building was busy even in the early morning. Young professionals hurried in and out, full of energy and ambition. Daniel parked the car but didn't immediately unlock the doors. You know, he said slowly, the Carter family probably expects you to lay low for a while. Lily unbuckled her seatbelt. They can expect whatever they like. Daniel watched her profile carefully. No bitterness. No visible anger. Just quiet certainty. He finally unlocked the door. Miss Carter, he said lightly, I have a feeling you're about to make things interesting. Lily stepped out of the car. Her lips curved faintly. Let's hope so. By noon, the Carter family house was anything but calm. Mrs. Carter slammed a stack of printed documents onto the table. What is this? Emma stood frozen beside her. On the papers were design drafts, fashion sketches, and timestamps. All of them dated months earlier. Months before Emma had presented her award-winning designs to the family. Mrs. Carter's face was turning darker by the second. These look exactly like the designs you showed at the spring showcase, she said slowly. Emma forced a shaky smile. There must be some misunderstanding. But her voice lacked its usual confidence. Because at the bottom of every file was a clean, unmistakable signature. Lily Carter. Mrs. Carter's head snapped up. Explain. Emma's palms were already damp. I don't know how those got there. Before she could finish, a servant hurried in. Madam. Miss Lily just sent over a formal copyright registration notice. Silence. Emma's blood ran cold. Because she suddenly understood. Lily hadn't fought back at the wedding. Because Lily had been preparing something else entirely. At the Brooks Corporation, Ryan's assistant knocked quickly and entered his office. President Brooks, we've completed the background check you requested. Ryan didn't look up from his tablet. Report. The assistant hesitated slightly. Miss Carter moved out of the Carter residence this morning. Ryan's fingers paused. Continue. She also filed intellectual property protection for a full set of original designs this morning. Ryan finally lifted his eyes. His gaze sharpened. Designs? Yes. And, the assistant swallowed, those designs appear to match the ones Miss Emma Carter presented publicly 3 months ago. The office went very still. Ryan leaned back slowly in his chair. For the first time since the cancelled wedding. Something close to realization flickered in his eyes. Meanwhile, across the city, Lily stood by the large window of her newly rented studio. Sunlight poured across the empty space. Clean. Quiet. Full of possibility. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Ryan Brooks. We need to talk. Lily looked at the screen for a long moment. Then, she calmly locked the phone and set it aside. Her reflection in the glass was steady and bright. This time, she wasn't the one being summoned. And somewhere not far away, the consequences of the past were finally beginning to catch up. By evening, the Carter family was in chaos. Emma stood stiffly in the living room, her face pale despite the careful makeup. Across from her, Mrs. Carter gripped the copyright documents so tightly the papers crumpled at the edges. You told me those designs were yours, Mrs. Carter said slowly. Her voice was no longer sharp. It was cold. Emma's throat felt dry. Auntie, I can explain. But the usual soft excuses refused to come out smoothly. Because this time, the evidence was too clean. Too complete. Too deliberate. Mrs. Carter slammed the documents onto the table. Explain what? That Lily copied you? Or that the registration dates are fake? Emma's lips trembled. For the first time in years. She looked cornered. Across the city, Lily's new studio was still mostly empty. But the air already felt different. Hopeful. Quietly powerful. She stood by the wide window, reviewing fabric samples, when a knock sounded at the door. Lily didn't turn. Come in. The door opened slowly. Footsteps, steady and familiar, approached behind her. Ryan Brooks' reflection appeared faintly in the glass. He looked exactly the same. Cold. Composed. Impossibly controlled. But his eyes were sharper than before. You ignored my message, he said. Lily finally turned. Her expression was polite. Distant. President Brooks, she greeted calmly. The formal title made Ryan's brows tighten slightly. In the past, she always called him Ryan. Always softly. Always carefully. Now, there was a clear line between them. Ryan studied her for a long moment. You knew, he said quietly. Not a question. A statement. Lily tilted her head slightly. Knew what? That the wedding would be cancelled. Silence settled between them. Then Lily smiled faintly. If I say yes, she asked gently, would you believe me? Ryan didn't answer immediately. Because the truth was, he wasn't sure anymore. This version of Lily Carter felt like someone he had never actually known. After a moment, he spoke again. The designs Emma presented, they're yours. Again, not a question. Lily walked past him slowly and sat down, completely unhurried. They were always mine. Ryan's jaw tightened slightly. For 3 months, you said nothing. Lily met his gaze calmly. For 3 months, no one asked. The simple sentence landed heavier than any accusation. Ryan suddenly understood something uncomfortable. In the past, Lily had been too quiet, too accommodating, too willing to step back. And everyone, including him, had simply accepted it. Ryan's voice lowered. You've changed. Lily's lips curved gently. People do. A long silence followed. Outside the window, the city lights slowly flickered on, one by one. Finally, Ryan spoke again. Do you regret it? Her eyes lifted. The wedding. For the first time, something warm, almost amused, passed through Lily's gaze. She stood slowly, walked toward the window, and answered softly. The best thing that happened to me was you letting me go. Ryan's pupils contracted slightly. Not anger. Not sadness. Just simple, clear truth. Lily turned back to him, her posture relaxed in a way he had never seen before. No hard feelings, President Brooks, she added politely. It sounded like closure. Ryan stood there for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he let out a quiet breath. Understood. He turned and walked toward the door. But just before leaving, he paused. Without looking back, he said, "You won't stay unnoticed for long, Lily Carter." Then he left. The door clicked shut softly. The studio fell quiet again. A moment later, another figure leaned casually against the still-open doorway. Daniel Reed crossed his arms, clearly having arrived midway through the conversation. "Well," he drawled lightly, "that was colder than I expected." Lily didn't look surprised. "You've been standing there for a while." Daniel grinned. "Couldn't miss the show." He stepped inside, his sharp eyes warm with unmistakable approval. "So," he asked, tilting his head, "what's next, Miss Carter?" Lily walked back to the center of her empty studio. Sunset light stretched long across the floor. Her voice was calm. Certain. This life. She picked up her sketchbook. "I choose myself." Outside, the city buzzed on. And for the first time, Lily Carter was exactly where she was meant to be.